It's a rainy Sunday, episode 30 of the Beyond the Curve, the MX podcast. We have a guest. That's why we're doing this on Sunday. We got a guest. We're going to talk amateur motocross, amateur off-road, probably some more amateur motocross, rainouts, and it makes perfect sense since for episode 30 we have a rain out right now.
Pretty much.
We are sitting on the pool deck in the shade. But Derek, introduce our guest.
Meet Caleb Groves, future MX 450 Pro A rider. We get to ride with him pretty much every weekend at this point. Kind of doing a little bit of training with Caleb as well. Trying to get him up to that next level. So, Caleb, tell us about Caleb.
Well, I started at a pretty young age. I started on a little Honda 50. I was like 4 or 5 years old. And then from there, we went to the 110 class. Back when it was super popular there at Dade City, we'd have 30-plus kids out there on the line for the 110 class, which was always fun. Just went to 65s. Actually, I made it to the Loretta's, or I qualified for the Loretta's on the 65, but we made the mistake of letting me ride the 85 right before Loretta's, and then I ended up not wanting to ride the 65. So we never went to Loretta's. We kind of quit racing after Super Minis. I quit racing for about 4 or 5 years, and then this past year is actually when I started racing up again. And then I got a good job, bought my own bike, and then Future MX came up to me, asked if I would ride for them. So that's kind of where we're at now.
Oh yeah.
So what made you want to come back?
Really, what kind of made me want to come back is I actually worked at a pizza shop. And just so happened their daughter started racing up. Her name's actually JC Ray. She was racing, and then they kind of convinced me to whip out the old 250. Rode that once every 6 to 8 weeks, or 6 to 8 months. And then when I was working at Irby, my boss has a kid, and he was wanting me to train him. And then we were in the motorcycle shop one day. We were getting the air filters or something, and they had a brand new 250 KTM 250 two-stroke sitting there, and I've always wanted to ride a 250 two-stroke. Somehow he convinced me to take it home and started riding again then, and then from there I was riding every weekend, just whenever I could. Just riding for fun, really. And then Mr. Heath Dorr came up to me one weekend, asked to talk to me, and we sat down. And I think the next 2 or 3 days, I sat down at RJ Huss's house, and we signed a contract for Future MX.
Very cool. I always wonder what brings people back after a pretty long break.
It's one of those deals. Like, I took 10 years off. Just started riding again, past year and a half.
Yeah.
And it's in your blood. I mean, when it's there, it's there. You're not ever going to be able to quit.
Yeah.
So a lot of things people say is you can get out of the sport for a while, but it's always going to drag you back in.
Yeah, for sure. So we've had the chance. Well, I just met you today, but Derek's had the chance to meet you over their period of time of being at Dade City and some of the other tracks around. You've kind of gotten back in and you're starting to travel some with the racing. One, and we don't care. What is your favorite place? I know Dade City is the home, but in Florida, what's your favorite track?
Well, like you said, Dade City is my home track. Grew up racing there for maybe 14, 15 years. Obviously, I love it there, but I really think my favorite track to date, right now at least, is probably Okeechobee.
Oh, okay.
I got that black dirt. It's a beautiful track, beautiful facility. It's got a really cool layout. I've only had the chance to ride there once, but I love it. Actually, this past weekend for the Gold Cup, we rode Diamondback, and I had a blast at Diamondback. Diamondback was really, really fun.
It was. We all had an awesome weekend there. I've heard a lot of good things about Moto Bros, Okeechobee MX. We have not had the opportunity to go down there. We do have Gold Cup there in 2 weeks. Unfortunately, it's on a day and night, so we have to pinpoint how we're going to do that. But there is no negative remarks about that facility at all.
It is a beautiful facility. They put a lot of money and a lot of work in that facility. It's a beautiful facility.
Have you had the opportunity to race out of state?
Yes, actually. The day after I signed with Future MX, they put me on a brand new 450. I rode it at Dade City for about 30 minutes. And then we decided to go up to Virginia for the area qualifier
Oh.
for Loretta Lynn's after having about 30 minutes on the bike. We actually did surprisingly well up there. I ended up getting second overall in College Boy, and then I rode 450A Pro, I believe, and I ended up, I think, fourth overall. I was leading the second moto, and I made some rookie mistake, and I ended up going down. I rode my way back up to like third, I believe. I got second in the first moto, and then third in the second moto, and it put me in like a fourth overall, which was I was super happy with my results considering just how much time I had on that bike.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. So how was the experience in Virginia? Difference of terrains, tracks, soils.
So it was like Georgia clay almost. It was like red clay. It was new to me. It was a really cool facility too. That track was super cool because it had like a pond in the middle and it had a lot of elevation wrapped around the pond. It was a really cool track. It was Lake Sugar Tree.
Oh, is that the old track that Osborne's parents used to run?
I can't remember the name of that place.
I believe
it could
used to
be.
a
Yeah.
national.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, there was.
I could never remember what the name of it was, but yeah, that sounds right.
Lake
But,
Sugar Tree.
well, awesome. So, not only do you do motocross stuff, but you also dabble for fun in some of the off-road stuff.
Yes, sir.
Why?
It's fun to ride every once in a while, and it's really good for stamina. Like, my dad, like back in the day, like growing up, my dad did the hare scrambles.
Okay.
And we did a lot of training in the woods, and I just enjoy trail riding. Like it's fun to do every once in a while. I definitely wouldn't do it like full time.
Yeah.
Like motocross is where my heart is, but it's good to do like once or twice a year. Good stamina building.
Awesome.
It's a different environment. It's really cool.
Yep. And we're going to talk about the FTR a little more here later, but I want to let Derek dive into some of the motocross stuff because you have a much closer relationship and kind of you two kind of got an unofficial guidance system going on, and I want to dive into how you two met and also what that relationship is becoming.
Yeah, so like I met Caleb at Dade City, been a while back now. We chatted here and there, and then I think one weekend I just ended up asking where he wanted to be, and I've watched him ride over and over. I never took total perception of how he rode up until like we had a chat, but so I asked him where he wanted to be. He's like, I'd really like to race a couple Supercross races next year and this and that. And so I think I ended up texting you the one night or something. I'm like, well, I don't know what the points are anymore. I believe it used to be 60 points within like an 18-month span.
I think it still is that. I think it's like a year.
Yeah, to get your pro license. So I'm like, if that's what you want to be, like I can help you do that. So I've been paying more attention, and over the time frame, he's helped Bowen, our son, and it just kind of grew into a friendship at this point. But I still try to I pay much more attention to the riding and give him some guidance, and I'm not a pro guy by any means, and we know that, but I know what it takes to get to that level. I know the work that needs to be involved and how to put somebody at that level. And I think just over the last few weeks alone, he's been taking some guidance in, and just the progression is phenomenal. Really
improving a lot, just the stamina side and my riding itself. He's helped me out quite a bit.
So I mean, you give me your input on it, because there's like for us, it's like a friendship every weekend. So but there's obviously a point from you that we haven't heard really.
So really, my biggest struggle right now is just guidance. Like I'm willing to put in the work to go pro. Like that's obviously the end goal is what I want to do. I just needed the guidance, and Derek has helped me out a lot just with training and getting my shit together. And he just that's really the guidance is all I need.
So what does that look like going forward? Not on Derek's side per se, because you can get the guidance, but what is that future's part of that? Since you're now riding with them, under them, however that relationship is, what are they going to be offering? Do they have places they want you to go race? Do they have, what does this next year look like for you with them?
So for the rest of this year, my main goal is Minios. That's what we're focusing towards. Just doing I know for the Supercross, you can earn pro points on that one. I don't think you can earn pro points with motocross.
I believe.
So I actually made a deal with RJ Huss. He said if I get top 5 in the pro class, in the 450 pro class in Minios, we'll do some of the future rounds, and you can earn pro points from them too. So that's really the main goal for the rest of this year is just placing well in Supercross Minios.
And that futures thing is becoming. It's now got the industry's attention, and that's where everybody's going.
Yeah.
Those in the combines, like that.
Yep.
That is now like, oh, if you can make it here, okay, we'll look at you.
Yeah, so, and I think I'm kind of at a standpoint where Future was at with him. You can watch the kid ride, and he's a phenomenal rider. But you could tell the fine finesse, the little things were off. I think we've even talked about this. Like he said, he was missing the guidance. So Future has a good program going. I'm sure we're talking to their rider. They're going to listen in on this. They have a good program going. What they do for their riders is pretty well.
They have helped me out
Yeah.
tremendously. I am super thankful for them.
But there's a lot of these guys just need the extra push.
Yeah.
So what they're doing for him is fantastic. But then you got to bring in the other elements of what makes a pro rider because they don't do it on their own.
Yeah.
So you bring that knowledge, and then the bike support, the overall support that they provide him. Like I think we're making just in a few short months quite a bit of progress towards the goals that he originally told me he wanted. So, and if I'm that piece that he needed, then so be it. I'll be happy to get him to that point. But I think that's what there's a lot of lacking in some of these. What do I want to call it? Some of these groups like the Future MX, or I mean, nothing against them. They're fantastic, all of them. If they don't have a set training program, then it's hard for these guys to get into the rhythm of they want to be pro, but what does it take to get to there? And then there's always that missing link of finding that one person that can get you there. So I think your next year is going to be game-changing.
So you work, correct?
Yes, sir. I have a full-time job.
Okay, so your life is about to get real boring. Because you're going to work, you're going to train, you're going to race, and that's really going to.
And that's exactly what I told him. I'm like, you work, you train, you ride.
Yeah.
And I'm game for it.
And sleep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
put in the work.
I don't think anybody's ever told you that before, and that's kind of what boiled down to the stamina issues. Is to get to that level, it's work, sleep, train, ride, do it again.
And that's kind of what I've been doing these past couple of weeks. Is I've really not really been hanging out, like I used to. I've just been sitting down, working, going home, going to sleep, training, riding as much as I can, just putting in as much seat time as I can.
Yeah, and I think for you, you were talking about this new deal and the focus for this year. I think for you, it's pretty awesome because, and you can answer this probably better as the rider. Mini O's is a place where we go to get looked at.
Correct.
You don't have to worry about that. You can just go ride now, because for this next year, it's building, and maybe I'm overreaching on that, but does it give you kind of a sense of peace to like, hey, I can just go here and perform now?
Yeah. Yes. In a sense, yes. It does kind of give me a little bit of relief because Minios is known for that. Like you go to Minios and you try to do the best you can because there's a lot of amateur teams and pro teams that are there, like Star Racing Yamaha and all of them. They go there a lot. And, just pick up kids. Like there's kids from all around the country that are come to Minios just to be seen.
Yeah.
I mean, and it does kind of give me a little bit of
Recognition.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It does give me a little bit of calm, I guess, knowing that I am on the Future MX team and that they're helping me out, and I can just go there and put my head down, put my laps in, and do what I need to do, and not have to worry about that aspect of it.
And you have a place to put your stuff.
Yes.
You have have a home there. Like it's not like you're straight up privateering it. You have a base.
Yep. We have the semi, and I'll have a canopy to stand underneath, and that's a really nice aspect of it. It does kind of take some weight off my shoulder in that sense of it.
Yeah, because it's hard at an amateur standpoint to even get to Minios in general because it is a very expensive week. and people that don't know of Minios. I mean, everybody knows of Minios, I think, in this sport, but what actually goes into Minios, it's an entire week during Thanksgiving. So all these families miss Thanksgiving at home. You're pretty much living out a dream at Minios to give it some kind of shot. It's the miniature Lorettas is what I call it. Because it's exactly what it is. It's the Florida Lorettas, and it's a big publicity place. And I'm excited for this year with him because I think we're going to race it, but we're going to be there regardless, just to see where we go.
I am looking forward to it. Just with my riding and my results, just from the Gold Cup, I know it's nowhere near the scale that Minios is going to be, but this Gold Cup rounds up giving me a lot of confidence, I guess. Like, I know I rode Dade City a lot, and I don't want to be known as the Dade City guy. I mean, that can only ride good at Dade City. So going to these other tracks and going all around Florida and performing well has given me a boost of confidence, I can say. So I am excited for Minios and to see what we can do.
I think that's awesome. I mean, that's the fun part, is that journey of trying to get there. So I do have to ask, as since you have a full-time job, how does that work for? Do you just burn your vacation on those races?
Pretty much, yes, sir. I am fortunate enough to actually work for Robert Noah. I've known him since I started racing at Dade City. He goes to Dade City all the time.
He races himself.
Yes, sir. He races.
Okay. Yep.
He races. He goes to Dade City every weekend and practices every Thursday night. So I am fortunate enough. So he kind of understands like the days I need off and stuff like that to go to these races and stuff. And I'm very fortunate to have that.
I mean, there are pros that are doing it. I mean, Josh Cartwright.
Yeah, Cartwright is a prime example of a pro that is a full-time worker at heart that still works at the races and races every weekend.
And who was the dude that he was really good at motocross from Maryland? And the summer of, oh my goodness gracious, I can't remember, but he was from Maryland. He was an HVAC tech, and literally would work and then fly out, come home, work.
It's going to drive me nuts, and I'm drawing a blank right now. We've been out of pro motocross for a week, and now it's losing names.
And he had a couple good summers of and he was working full time.
That's pretty much how it is right now. Like during the Gold Cups, I'd race Sunday, get home Sunday night, and go to work at 5:45 every morning, or the same next day. It's definitely tough, but it's what I want to do. So I'm gonna tough through it, and I'm gonna make it happen.
That's what it takes. I mean, that's what I found in him is just the drive. Where he wants to be. So he's actually been staying with us the past few weekends. The Gold Cup, we've been providing housing essentially at the races, and along with a little bit of mentorship, and it's been fun. So we talked about FTR a little bit, and we had the Bartow race this weekend. Trey actually just came back from the Sunday Bartow.
Yeah,
the downpour.
It's funny, the tale of 2 days of off-road racing. Like, whether it's GNCC, FTR, you'll go to one day and it'll be terrible. The next day it'll be, gorgeous. There's never a weekend where it's terrible the whole weekend. Yeah. And I've gone to races where it's been 50 degrees and the next day it's 19, and you're like, what is happening? Like,
it was so unbelievably hot Saturday. It was.
Yeah.
I was cooking.
You actually were there. I went there to watch my nephew and I guess my niece's boyfriend race yesterday on quads. You were there doing some, and I still haven't figured out why you guys enjoy this. What bike were you on yesterday?
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Let's explain the bike story and then the bike you rode, because it's interesting.
So I ended up riding in the pre-modern class. I rode an 01 KX 125. So Friday night we decided we were going to race it. It's actually one of the co-owners of Future MX, Mr. Brian, he bought this bike from a boy at a gas station. And
I figured you'd enjoy this story. That's why we're getting into it.
So, bought it from a boy at a gas station, and I think he only had it a couple of days. And then Mr. Heath Thor on the Future MX team, he asked if I wanted to ride it. I said, of course. I think that would be so much fun. So I picked it up Friday night, and kind of went over it, checked the oil, drained the gas, put new gas in it, and just made sure it went through all the gears, and it ran beautifully. I was like, all right, I'm willing to race it. So picked it up Friday night, did my whole thing, and then I drove up there Saturday morning, and we rode the pre-modern A class. And I had so much fun on that bike. That was the most fun I've had on a bike in a long while.
And those guys scoot. Those guys on these older bikes, they are flying.
They were flying. I was racing with the Keelan brothers, Corey Keelan, Kyle Keelan, and those boys, they were on Kyle was actually on a Suzuki 250 two-stroke, and Kyle was on a KX 250 two-stroke, and it was just a blast. I obviously I didn't know how to do an FTR start, so I got off the start, but I worked my way up to, I believe I was like 8th, I believe, and then my brakes went out halfway through the first lap, ran into some trees, and then I started to back up again, just popped the brakes a little bit. They started working again, and I believe that I got up to like 6th or 7th, and then I was on the 3rd lap. I was going to pit actually on that lap, and I ended up running out of gas. And like the 5th or 6th mile.
See, this is the off-road joy. Like, you don't have this in motocross, supercross. You're not bouncing off trees.
You're not. But this isn't the first time that Caleb has ran out of gas in a race.
Oh.
So we ran out of gas. You were with Future with what? Maybe a month?
It was maybe a month.
And he runs out of gas at Dade City.
Yep,
in the middle of a race.
Leading the race. It was like 2nd lap in.
That's the night that I think I actually sat down and talked to you. Like that's what brought it all up. That's not what brought it up, but I'm like, are you serious? You run this thing out of gas in the middle of a race. And then he goes out. So he tells me the story at FTR that he runs out of gas. I'm like, are you shitting me again?
And that's and with some of the changes they've made to FTR this year, especially on the Sunday afternoon races, they've gone to a full 2-hour race, and guys were having to start calculating if they were going to need to make a pit stop, but yeah. So yesterday, track it's a little bit different on a Saturday versus a Sunday, but I don't understand. I appreciate that guys want to go out and run these older bikes, but there's also guys that run older bikes, and I'm like, I kind of enjoy that 14 inches of travel. 6, I don't think I'm going to enjoy that.
Oh yeah, there was boys. I was out there. I was lapping them, and they were on like these super old like YZs, and I don't know how they enjoy riding those things. So they just looked like they were beating them up.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
They love it. They love it. And that Saturday, there is serious racing going on, but there's also the specialty class racing that happens on the Saturday, and watching the quad guys come through, and then watching that same corner today at the start of the hair scramble for the bikes, I was like, dude, that corner does not look like fun. And they had so much rain last night that the corner, if you missed the corner, bye-bye. You were diving off into the swamp. But today, I mean, the FTR stuff's good. Garrett Edmiston and Jesse Ansley and Zach Osborne, before we sat down, I actually was checking scores, and at one point, coming across the line, all 3 of them within 1 second of one another. Defender, defender, going, and I'm sure there was hooting, hollering, screaming, yelling. And I actually had the opportunity yesterday to sit down with Jesse Ansley for about, 20, 25 minutes. We were shooting the breeze, and he's another one of those kids that's trying to make it that same, in a different genre, the same thing you're going through right now of, hey, this is what I want to do. Let me give it my best shot. And I think now that you have this stability, now you get to kind of see. You get to try it.
Yeah. So, I believe he's going for the GNCC, and not.
He was doing GNCC. He was doing enduros. I'm not sure which direction he was doing GNCC, and he's kind of done his own thing this year a little bit more with kind of picking and choosing. I mean, I think he did a Mid-East race a couple weeks ago, and
that's cool.
So he's just wherever the van goes.
Around,
wherever the van goes, and kind of like you guys do pro sport races, wherever there's a paycheck. Let me go see if I can cash in a little bit. So, I mean, same thing. It's all the same thing, just that you guys don't deal with trees and we bounce off of them.
Oh, I bounced off a couple trees yesterday. they jump out right in front of you, I'm telling you.
There ain't no way that your suspension didn't feel much different than the very pre-modern, because this bike has blown fork seals. They're dumping oil. This guy's out there. He brought this race to Dade City straight after. Yep. He's like, I'm racing the 125 class on this thing. Well, I'm like, dude, I'm going to tell you right now, don't go out there and sky everything like you do on the 450. So he does. And would you make it 2 laps? Was it 2 laps?
I think we made it around a lap and a half or 2 laps, like right before the finish line, and she locked up on me.
But we got it freed up again.
We got it freed up. We got it running
Gotta love the pre-modern bikes.
Hey, you know, just empty the bowl, kick it a little bit. I mean, I had a bike sit for 7 years, and I kicked it twice, and it started.
Oh, this bike! I was so surprised as soon as I got it. I kicked it once and it fired right up.
And you got a level 125. You can crank it with your hand.
Yeah.
Because back when I used to race 125 off road, I would fall on hills and stuff, and I couldn't. I'm short, so I couldn't get over the bike. So I would literally put it in neutral, and I would just crank it with my hand and walk beside it up the hill until I could get up the hill.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever you gotta get, dude.
Yeah.
Those 125s are so loose. It's amazing.
Like
but
I said, I had so much fun. It beat me to hell, but I had so much fun. On that
he's
bike.
feeling it today.
Oh, my hands! I have so many blisters. My pinky's actually broken right now.
And I think that's the cool thing is I think this off-road, this Florida series, it is so big. It's gotten at one point it got a little too big for itself,
Mhm.
but there's such a good time value of money of getting to go race for an hour and a half to 2 hours, and then when you're done, you sit around, you have a beer, you have a body armor, you eat food, they cook, everybody hangs out, and it becomes a weekend camping trip, and you race your race, or some people are racing multiple classes. Like I have a buddy that he races pre-modern, and he also races regular, so he's racing on Saturday and Sunday. There was a young woman that raced 4 classes in a weekend.
I couldn't do it. Like
4 classes.
was
That's
that
a
last
lot,
year
man.
that I raced that race, or 2 years ago
I think
now?
2 years ago now.
That I did 1 lap. Yeah, I mean I did a lap in practice, and then I did a lap. We did a lap in practice. It was muddier than all hell. Him and I were talking about this, but then I go out and race. I'm like, I'm done. 14 miles. I'm done.
That's another reason why I enjoy it so much. Is because it's much more laid back than motocross.
It is.
It's more family orientated.
Yeah.
Like obviously motocross is family orientated, but it's a lot more stressful. I guess you could say not stressful, but it's a lot more hardcore.
Yeah.
I guess FTR is a little bit more laid back.
Well, and I think that's kind of built in because I go to a motocross race. I can watch you the entire time. There's not one place I can't see you on the track. Your wives, your friends, they kiss you goodbye, they wave at you, and you leave. You're coming back in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened while you were out there. And
Yeah.
you're telling all these stories that no one sees.
Mhm.
So there kind of has to be this more at peace with the fans because we can't see. I mean, I run a GPS monitor the whole time, so my wife can actually watch me on the GPS monitor, but she has no idea where that is.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know if he's on the track right now. Like, what's he doing? So I think that motocross intensity is, I will never say the racing's not as intense because to the FTR guys, they're racing. They're battling.
They're
Yeah.
intense.
But that intensity of that 5-lap race in a motocross where the eyes are on you all the time. That is a true difference in the sport.
Yeah, but it shows the vast variety of the sport.
Yeah.
I can't tell you the amount of guys when I ran out of gas that stopped and was like, "Are you okay?" And he actually checked on me.
Yeah.
Whether that was motocross safety,
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
taking any rut around you.
Yeah,
It was another position, and they might have used you as traction
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
in a motocross race.
That's what it turns into. But that's what when I raced FTR that one race, it's still the motocross mentality. You just go full bore. So I went full bore for 14 miles, and by the time I hit the motocross part of the track, I was done. I couldn't even pull a turn.
Yeah, but I did do that yesterday. First lap, I got a table start, and I was balls to the wall.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did, 'cause
every
Everybody else was on e-start, and I had to kick my bike, and you pass them almost all of them off the start because you're just motocross mentality.
Yeah.
But then come lap 2, you're like, and you still got 10 to go, 12 to go. It's a whole different sport. We've talked about this 100 times.
But that's why I like it. Is because it forces you to pace yourself.
Yeah.
It helps with motocross. I believe, especially in the pro sport classes where there being longer motos.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it helps pace myself.
Yeah.
No, I think that there is a usefulness to it, even if it becomes just a training mechanism. I think it's great cross training because you do have to have it. Since even in a motocross race, it's 35 minutes. Well, you're still going to be at a higher heart rate for that 35 minutes than I'm going to be for my 2 hours off road.
Yeah.
But that being said, if you can use it as a training mechanism where, okay, I have to be able to stay here for 2 hours, then I can amp it up because you're going to go through, even motocross, they go through peaks and valleys. They're pushing, but then they'll even say, I went hard for 3 laps, and then I got into a rhythm, and then I pushed again later. So the rhythms are just different.
Yeah, in the big pro motocross world, yes. But like the motocross that we race, it is 5,
Yeah.
6, whatever laps. It's pure
Yeah.
straight
Just as
intensity.
hard as you can
Yeah.
for those 6 laps.
But no, I think that's fun. But oh shoot, I don't know where I was going with that. But that wasn't the only racing at Dade City Saturday night. We had supposed to have a Gold Cup, but I guess Orlando got hammered with rain.
Flooded out. Yep. So we're racing that 21st, 22nd of October
Yeah,
here.
the weekend after Okeechobee. It was supposed to be the last. Okeechobee was supposed to be the last round,
Yep.
but they moved Orlando to after that. So this weekend we have Gatorback, and then Okeechobee, and then Orlando.
You get a little bit of sightseeing at Gatorback before
Yep.
Minios.
Yep.
And then I guess Triple Crown raced
So
yesterday
did
as well.
Tampa today.
But today.
So practice yesterday. They were racing today. We got home and I'm like, we should have drove to Tampa,
Should have.
but we didn't.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, there's just a lot, as we talked about last week. There's a lot of racing
yeah,
right now.
Florida racing is at its peak right now.
Yes, at this time of the year, there's a lot of different rounds that you can pick and choose from. There's actually one of the boys that I raced at the Gold Cup. He was at Echikani this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of going to Orlando, he actually ended up racing at Echikani today. So I like it. There's a lot of
There's racing
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah, the South is alive with racing, so it's one of those things. But for you guys, focusing on, I guess, are you focusing on Gold Cup right now, kind of as a preparation for Minios?
Yes, sir. That's so. With Future, we wanted to be at every single round, just for the representation and stuff. And I looked at it as training for Minios.
Yeah.
Getting in to more of those high intensity races and more on the line. With with the pro classes at Gold Cups, they actually pay you out. So I think at Orlando, or not Orlando, Diamondback, they paid top 3, and then Dade City this weekend they paid top 2, but they pay per moto. They don't pay for overall. So I think Dade City was top 2, and then Diamondback was top 3 per moto.
And then for you, you just pay.
Yeah, I just pay.
But next week, big weekend, Gatorback. It's like one of the preeminent tracks in Florida, and it's hosting a Gold Cup next week.
It is, and then they're allowing the only Supercross practice before Minios on their Supercross track.
Oh.
So they'll do half a day Supercross practice there. So it's a chance for everybody to see the track before Minios. It's the one and only opportunity because they do not open that track up during the year at all. Besides Winter Ams, Gold Cup, and Minios.
So I have a question. How many riders do you think will then, since, hey, we're going to offer you a practice on Super, how many riders do you think that Gold Cup's going to get compared to Dade City or
I believe
Diamondback?
a lot of people are going to be there this week
Yeah,
just for that aspect.
I feel as if it's going to double. Diamondback was a pretty busy house. I mean, it's nothing like Minios by any means, but that track is world renowned. I mean, it's very cool to have just the layout that they have there. It's not so much just the tracks. You got the quarries, the
elevation,
everything. It's like a northern atmosphere. So you get the massive step ups on the Diamondback. I mean, Gatorback is up and down and up and down, and then to have a Supercross track is not something you see really anywhere anymore. So I think there's going to be a lot there. Even if they're not racing Sunday, they're going to be there for practice on Saturday.
100%.
Did you ever get to race Gatorback in the old layout?
So I've ridden there, since my youth. I rode 65s there, I rode 85s there, and I did ride Supermarines there. What do you mean by old layout?
Because they've changed the way the track flows now.
Yes.
It used to come around and go all the way to the road and then do its up and downs.
Yes, I did ride that layout. I remember specifically just because they used to have a step up, where you go like kind of the S back and forth,
Mhm.
coming back up. They used to have a step up where you land up at the top, and the sun would be in your eyes every morning for practice.
And as soon as you hit that step up, we used to be called the elevator.
Yep.
And it's changed over the years. It's not, do they even still have that jump there?
No, sir.
Yeah.
They took it out.
But that was the jump that I watched a bike break in half.
Mm-hmm.
And 125s, and only the baddest dudes could clear it on a 125.
And there'd be a 90-degree corner right after.
Yep. Back down the hill.
Yep.
Back down, and it was blue groove. It was like racing on this table.
We had up north when I was younger, full balls into it. We had a practice track called Camp Kevin. That's what they called the track. It was Kevin Goyer was the one that owned it. That's why they called it that. But they had a 90-foot uphill step up,
Ooh.
straight into a 90-degree.
Oh.
That jump was gnarly. My cousin used to do it on a 125, just screaming. I had my 250F, and it wasn't bad, but you're still fourth gear pinned to hit this jump.
Yeah.
We were doing this at like 12 years old.
That's kind of how Lake Sugar Tree was.
Yeah.
Like the start was something I've never seen. It was a start going straight downhill. As soon as
Yeah.
you went out the gate, it was downhill.
It's these northern tracks. With the elevation. I mean, there's only so much that you got to work with.
Well, most tracks they have uphill starts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of Colorado. You think about Colorado, how steep if you're at the
That's
top
how
of the hill.
Steel City MX was.
Yeah.
It's uphill to a left-handed 90.
Yeah. So that's downhill.
It was straight downhill, a 90-degree corner, and then straight to an uphill triple.
Yep.
But I was having to hit third gear tapped on a 450.
Ooh.
And there was these super many kids that were hitting it, and
Oh,
it blew my mind. I do not understand how they were landing on the top of it, kind of bouncing into the corner, but it was third tapped on a 450.
It's because their mentality is just a little bit different.
Oh yeah,
They do. I don't care.
Yeah. Super many kids nowadays are on.
Yeah, you
Like,
watch
they're so fast.
Carson Woodride.
Wood,
Yeah.
Seth Dennis. We got the chance to watch them at the Gold Cup this weekend at Dade City, and those kids are unbelievable. The way that they're riding that track.
Yeah, they're flying. I mean,
They're just ringing them out.
yeah, just like those bikes are hanging on for one race, and that's it. And
As
then
much
you might
as
as well
I-
just build them again.
As much as I hate to admit it, I raced against them at Dade City for just a Saturday night race or whatever. In my class, they put college boy and schoolboy together on the same gate, and them boys were on my ass the whole moto.
On a
Like
450.
it kind of hurt my ego a little bit. Like I was on a 450 and they were on my butt the whole moto.
It's fun watching those. That is a specific class and a specific riders. Like,
Yeah.
you see those kids, because that bike's really useless except for a top level racer.
Yeah.
Because you have to ride it. Like, you've got to scream it, hang it off the back, and just go.
Those are the kids that you will see on TV in
Yeah.
a few years. I mean,
Carson, he actually won the at the Colorado, the super motocross.
Oh,
run
yeah,
they
yeah.
did. He ended up winning the super mini.
at
round.
Chicago.
Chicago.
Yeah.
Chicago, and he won it by what? I think he was ahead by 10 seconds.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about.
He stayed on two wheels.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
there
what
was
we
a
were
lot.
talking about last week. Is him and Seth Dennis both were. We got to watch them the weekend after they both rung it out at Chicago, which is it's awesome. That's the one thing I love about the Florida motocross life is those guys leave there, they fly home, and then they're racing with us on the weekends.
Yeah.
Speaking of local flair, have y'all heard the news as to who's going to be representing Puerto Rico? Our own Jack Chambers, since he's in Europe,
No kidding.
he's going to be representing Puerto Rico at
Really?
RNA next week. Yeah, like, that's awesome. Like, hey, you're here. Instead of us having to ship some other rider over,
Go ahead and ride it.
why don't you ride it? So the dude gets to represent. I know it's not the USA, but can you imagine if someone said, "Hey, Ken, would you like to go race? Would you like to go do the nations?"
I would be honored. That would be super
Yeah.
cool. Just to go to another country or something and just
You're doing another
represent a country.
Yeah.
and you're doing another country. You get to go through all the pageantry. You get to race all these guys, which he's already raced a whole bunch of them because
Yeah,
he's,
but just the experiences alone. I mean,
So I'm actually pretty excited because I really wasn't that excited. I mean, I wanted to support USA, but I didn't really care this year. But now it's like, dude, I'm gonna be watching results and figuring out how I can watch it and see how he does, because that's cool. Like,
did you see the video of Kyle McGraw, Florida FCA, that was on our podcast? He got to sit and pray with Team USA
oh really?
at Orlando. Yep. So
that's
they practiced, and then Kyle got to sit down with them and do a little prayer and stuff for the race.
Awesome.
And I posted it on our page.
That's
So.
cool. Very cool. But so for you, what's like, you got this thing going on now. You're kind of starting to find your flow. You're getting the guidance. What do you see? Because you can't pick results.
No, sir.
You can't pick. What do you see as your next growth part?
My next growth part. I'm not too sure really. I mean, obviously within a main thing I'm focused on right now within the next year and a half is getting as many pro points as I can. You know, obviously within the next year and a half, 2 years, I want to be doing some supercross rounds and some pro motocross rounds. It's obviously the goal. Just really just if I can keep my head out of the dirt is because I've been having a problem with that recently these past couple weeks. I'm riding super well. I feel like I'm really happy with my riding right now. I just can't keep my head out of the dirt.
Is it? Are you pushing hard to prove something, or is it just you're trying to go to that next step?
I believe I'm riding over my head. We've been working on that a lot recently. Just riding, you know how Jet, he's always saying ride at 8%. And I've been working on that a lot. Is not pushing as hard as I can, you know, for the whole moto. I'm really working on riding smooth and hitting my marks and calming down, especially on that 450. You can't ride that 450 like it's a 250 or a 125. You have to be low and slow. And
yeah, that young kid has taught all of us that the 450 can be ridden like a gentle beast.
yes.
And it's amazing how it works.
And speaking of the legend himself, he was at Dade City with us this weekend for a few hours.
Just hanging out.
Jet and his dog. It was just hanging out.
Before he leaves for RNA.
Yep, pretty much. It's cold. Like I said, you see these guys on TV, and they're usually somewhere with you here in Florida. You know, he lives 5 minutes from Dade City.
Yeah.
But with you, I noticed. I know, like you said, you're riding over your head. I think as I've dove deeper into the riding of Caleb Groves himself, it barrels back down to the stamina thing that he's had an issue with from day one. That we're now, I think we got a hand on it. I think I told you when you were racing Chad Reed there. I don't remember what race was that, Florida Series or something.
Florida Series at Dade City.
Don't push. Like, if you got to make a hard charge lap 1, that's fine. Then ride your race. We talked about this last weekend too.
Yep.
At Gold Cup. I'm like, ride your race, make your pushes lap 5 and lap 6. So if you got a guy that you're watching, watch him. Don't push because I know you're gonna wear yourself out.
Yeah.
And I think last weekend he took a hard digger.
Yeah,
It was questionable. But you could tell he was pushing. And I think had he listened and just rode his race, I think the outcome would have been different. But it's just, figuring out those minor imperfections. I mean, you're only a year back into the sport.
Yeah. So
he's doing well. And then you bring the guidance into it. It's all coming together, but it takes a while for it all to click.
Yeah, I think that that was the last moto of the day. Those first 3 motos actually I was calm, I was relaxed.
Yeah.
I was watching the guy in front of me and I ended up being able to pull up to him. Like on the last lap, I believe I was right behind him.
And so I said that you just put your charge on, and Heath and I, we all sit and we watch together with the future team, and we sit and we watch, we critique him the entire time, like, and then he comes back and you need to be hitting this line instead of this line, and it looks so much faster because you watch all the other guys doing this line. So he's learning a lot as we pretty much take this journey that I've kind of just stumbled upon. I mean, it's a team that's been built over the last few months, and it's coming together well. I think
the only way to get racecraft is to race.
Yes, sir.
I mean, you can practice it all you want, but getting those gate drops and that hard work to get to that gate drop is all that stuff that we talked about, the boringness of success. Like I used to do tennis, and Roger Federer would say, like, success is boring.
Yeah.
Like, it's really boring because I get up, I go to work, I train, I eat, I sleep. Oh, by the way, I made $20 million last year. But my day-to-day existence is boring, and that success, I can tell you right now, Jet Lawrence, as much fun as you all think he's having, his day-to-day routine is not fun.
No, it's terrible. I mean, that's why to see him out at Dade City, Randy Yoho, the owner of Dade City, is just like, not every day you get to see Jet Lawrence just pop in.
Yeah.
But right now it's kind of calming for him, and that's fun. Yeah. As much as everybody thinks that's what these guys do for a living, they do love racing. Yeah. So to just come out and to be able to be a person and not have a camera in your face, or like, he was having a blast just walking around with his dog, talking, and it's we've talked 100 times. They're still people.
Yeah.
And you don't get to. We treat them as people, but the average fan is running up to them and this and that.
I feel like the average person they don't realize that they just look at them as like a celebrity.
Yeah.
They don't realize that they're actually just normal people.
They're still people. They're not machines.
Yeah.
So I want to dive in. Speaking of that, he comes out and he did that ride day with his brother, and they did all that stuff. But for you, on the lower side of things, I mean, maybe one day we'll say we had a star here at the table, but I have heard you have really good rapport with the kids, and I want to know what drives that. Do you feel like you have to, or do you feel like it's just something that was natural for you?
No, I love kids, and I feel like when I was growing up, I always wanted that kind of, you see a fast guy out there, you always wanted them to, talk to you, I feel like I had the opportunity to do that with the kids, kind of be that figure that can help them, train and, just be nice to them, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, I've always been kind of good with kids and stuff like that, and I enjoy, kind of being that for them, kind of being a person that they can look up to.
I think that's a cool thing. I mean, that's something that's kind of that. It doesn't make him more successful. It doesn't make him better. It actually probably hinders his quiet time. But I think that's one of those. If you hang on to that trait, that'll go a long way. Because to a lot of these kids, you are the fast person at that track.
Yeah.
And that's the track they know. And I think that's a huge. So when you're having a bad day, knuckle one of those kids. Which, by the way, Dade City, congratulations! Your exit and entrance there. The kids love the fact that they can knuckle riders as they're leaving the track. That is
high fives on the fences.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
Just coming off a moto and there's kids hanging off the fence and they're trying to get a high five. I love that.
And they don't care where you finished.
Yeah.
They just want the high five.
Oh, yeah.
The best is watching the little kids try to knuckle the little kids, and they don't quite have that balance down, and they're like wobbling all over, and they're trying to hit high fives. But no, Dade City, congratulations. That is a great way to not only draw more people in, but to give guys like Caleb the chance to, hey, thanks, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. They don't know he finished 5th, 3rd, crash.
Yeah.
They just see a dude coming off the track and like, hey, look at him.
Yeah,
So
I love that aspect of that track. They've always been really good with that. And going back to the kids thing, like I said, I've always been close with kids and stuff like that. Like I said, I want to be someone that they can look up to. Like I don't want to, I'm not pointing any fingers at anybody, but there's some guys that they think they're fast or whatever, and they just want to be assholes.
That's where I was going to get at. Is there's actually not that many riders that want to deal with any aspect of training with anybody else.
Yeah.
I would say the vast majority of them don't. Yeah, there's money involved for training children, but I myself can pinpoint very quickly the guys that don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
They'll do it. They're training kids. They're out there, but you can tell that they're not into it, or they take they almost wrap a finger around the faster kids, and then the other kids get kind of put back in the backlight of it, and that drives me crazy. Bowen loves to train with them. They just trained a little bit here at the house while we were waiting on you to come, and he's been talking about it for weeks. And there's a lot of kids you can just sit on the line that look up to him because he's the fast guy at Dade City.
Yeah.
So
I always try to every race that every time that I'm not on the line, I try to be on the line, with those kids, just kind of like hyping them up or giving them high fives.
Okay, so you can do that, but you got to have your water bottle and your electrolyte with you.
Oh yeah.
So that we got to keep working because as we told Rylan, hey man, we want you to do all this extra stuff, but remember you're a racer.
Yes.
Like we want you to do this outside of because we're working on that with Rylan on some other stuff off the track, and it's like we want you to remember no matter what, you have to pay the bills.
Yes.
So we want you to be that person because I'm telling you that pays dividends in the long run. The people that are signing autographs, the golfers, there's a group of golfers, pro golfers right now, that will literally sit out until dark. They may not have won the tournament, and they will sign every kid's thing. Well, guess what? They are building a group of people that are going to be fans of that sport and fans of theirs beyond the time they're playing.
Yeah.
And you have the chance to grow the sport Hey,
Here comes the rain.
We have some more rain. It's Florida, baby.
But anybody can sign an autograph, and I'm a firm believer if you can sit and talk to a child as you sign the autograph, talk to them about them, or just give them 30 seconds of your time.
It just makes them feel special.
They are going to remember every little ounce of that versus you just signing a piece of paper and handing it to them.
I wouldn't even sign an autograph. I'd spend the time with them and grab their dirt bike and maybe sign the little dirt bike or the little, the little toy bike or their Tonka truck or whatever. I'd be like, oh my God, he signed that for me. I make that difference of walking through their pit and saying, hey man, I was watching a good job out there.
I try to do that a lot.
Those 4 seconds of your time that you spent to come over, the father at the race, and I got his daughter's name right. And he's like, man, thank you. You got her name right. And I was like, oh, I think she's a really good rider. And he's like, you been watching? And I'm like, yeah. Like that made that man's moment while he's focusing in on watching his daughter thrash out there. And by the way, she's still fast. So I don't know. I don't remember her name now, but she's fast.
It happens. But yeah, with him, he knows our child well. He knows a couple other children real well. But after he has their little pep talk and talks to them, he still goes right down the line whether he knows them or not, and talks to as many as he can. They all remember that. That track is so family oriented. It really is.
That's why I fell in love with that track. It's because everyone that goes there is like family to me. Like, I've been going there for 14 years. I know almost everybody there.
And you got the people that complain about it. There's always going to be complaints no matter where you go. But
it's Dade City. You have to complain about it.
Yeah,
like, you have to.
They have probably the most phenomenal operation, out of all of them. Whether there's negativity or not, not everybody's perfect. Randy himself is still human.
Yeah. He has done such a good job with that place. So.
Yeah.
And guess what? He can be an ass.
Yeah.
He can be an ass.
You have to be.
Yeah.
If you go to Gatorback, for example, and watch these kids ride pit bikes in the pits, and then you go to Dade City, like I told my wife, now do you understand why Randy has rolls?
Yeah.
Because you're watching 110s, kids 6, 7 years old on 110s just jumping across roads where cars are coming in, and it's ridiculous. Where Randy does not put up with any of that. And that's kind of the one thing I like about Dade City is like, I can trust my kids to play in the sand by the road, where at Gatorback, if they're not right beside my camper, they're not, we're looking for them.
I got a trick for you. The next time he does his little pep talks for the kids, follow him, listen to what he's saying, and then you tell him exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Because he's saying what he wants to hear.
Yeah. What I tell him is not what I'm going to say on these microphones, because I ain't talking to him like a child.
But that feeling is what he's wanting to share.
Yeah.
It's that same feeling he's wanting to feel.
Well, I think I talk to Caleb a little bit differently.
I've had coaches tell me I have very colorful speeches, so.
No.
But
whatever it takes.
then again, like when I was coming up, I had this boy. His name was Wilfredo Guzman.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I love that man to death. He growing up, I trained with. He was training with Moon Garrett's and Maggie Garrett's, the whole Garrett family. And I was kind of there with them, but like I looked up to him, when he was training me when I was younger, and
that's kind of like him on mini bikes.
Yeah, he is outstanding. But
what's he doing now?
He still works for UPS.
Okay.
But he is actually riding Aiden's old practice bike now for Future MX.
Okay.
He's making a Charlotte Loretta's this year.
I wasn't going to talk about this. I was going to say if Caleb wants to bring up Future MX stuff, he can. But we talked about this, but I wasn't going to be the one to drop the ball.
I'm curious because my wife and I actually, I kid you not, a week ago, Michelle's like, remember that little kid who had the wild hair? Because he did. He used to have wild, big old hair. And she's like, we used to go to practice because when I first learned how to ride, I went to class at Dade City as a 31-year-old man. And we used to watch this kid. And I was like, I don't know what happened to him. That's so cool.
But yeah, he's riding Aiden's bike now, and I believe he's making a shot for the Rettas this year. But anyways, going back to that, like I kind of had him, to look up to as like just a trainer, and he always treated me like kind of like how I treat the kids now. Like he always just talked to me, and sat down and talked to me. And I really enjoyed that when I was a kid. That's kind of like what I want to,
It's all confidence at that point in their lives. I mean, they're dumped into a sport that's so physically demanding, mentally demanding, and then some of the parents, like we've talked 100 times, are very demanding, and they're doing things that the average 5-year-old to 8-year-old are never going to experience unless they're in the sport. So that little boost of confidence is
It goes a long way.
and then some.
How old am I about to feel? How old is Wilfredo?
I couldn't tell you.
He's not a kid though anymore.
No, sir. He's building a house now. So
Good lord.
I can't say how old he is. I'm not too sure.
I am so.
Do we want to get into this?
No, I just when I tell Michelle that, she's gonna be like, "What? What?" I mean, because we just remember him as a little kid. And
Yeah.
I'm glad to see he's around. I'm glad to see he's doing well and around, because he was one of those kids that, as an adult, I was like, "Oh, if I could ride like him," and I was an old man, and I'm like, "If I could ride like him," and people are like, "It's never gonna happen." And guess what? It never happened. It never happened.
Here we are talking about him. Then.
Yeah, but that's awesome.
What, 20 years later?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, exactly. 20 years later. 20 years later. 51 years old. That's 31 years old when I started. So yeah, it's.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's awesome. I'm glad. So you're home with Future now. Are you going to be their pro guy, or are they still going to venture off into that? And if you can't say anything, I'm not trying to dig. I'm actually just curious as to their structure, because I know they had changed up their structure some.
So as far as I know right now, we're focused on the amateur side.
Okay.
On the amateur side right now. Yeah, we're just focused on the amateur side right now. You know, getting through Minios and Lorettos.
Yeah, and I think that's good. There's nothing. There has to be those teams to get you there. You know.
And I feel like that's kind of the reason why Future is popular, is because they are more amateur oriented. You know what I mean?
Give it the name alone.
Yeah.
Future
Yeah,
MX. I
makes
mean,
sense.
that's what I said when I have no digs on Future at all, because there's not many teams that support you. We got HBI that has a phenomenal amateur program. Future has created a phenomenal amateur program.
So you and I's team, we have passed MX.
Yeah, I guess. but how many other teams can you say that are at that level that are providing true amateur rides?
And I feel super fortunate, to be a part of that. Growing up, I never really thought. Well, there's always the hope, but I never really thought like it would get to the point where I'm at right now. Like they, when they came up to me, it was kind of like a switch. Like maybe I can do this.
Yeah.
Like if someone had faith in me, to sign a contract with me and stuff like that, maybe I could do this. So I am again super fortunate for that.
So you're on Cowie.
Yes, sir.
What can we say? What kind of gear and all that good stuff?
Yes. So Fox, we're sponsored by Fox Gear and Oakley Goggles. That's what we're running right now. That's who we.
Are you headed to Fox? Helmet, boots, all.
Boots. Right now I'm running. I'm running a Shoei helmet. Right now it's just one that I had when I was younger. I'm actually, Danny from 53 Graphics. He painted this helmet for me when I was younger, and I kind of wanted to represent him too.
He's been on our podcast as well.
Yeah.
So he's a really nice guy, and he's helped me out a lot. He painted this helmet for me when I was younger, and I feel like I just want to represent him too. So I'm running the Shoei helmet. He did actually have a super cool custom Fox helmet I gave him, and he did it up for me. I ended up crashing and broke the visor on it though, so can't run that one no more. But yeah, that's kind of everything Fox and Oakley except for the helmet, just because I wanted to represent him a little too.
How as a kid, when you're growing up, the logo that we all remember, Fox.
Yeah.
Fox logo, Oakley. The Oakley goggles. I mean, we all buy Oakley sunglasses because we all think it was cool. And I mean, that's not a bad sponsorship deal
No,
to
not at all.
get to go out and bust out some Fox gear and some Oakley goggles. That's really not a bad sponsorship. I mean, there's so many good companies now, but that iconic logo of the Fox.
Yeah, you can't complain.
Kenny's gear at the last race was sweet. The World Tour gear, that was sweet.
Caleb busted out some sweet pink
yeah.
and blue gear this week.
It was. I figured I'd throw it back a little bit with the pink and blue. I love that gear.
Dude, what was that? The old Kawasaki?
No, it was. It's some of the new stuff they just came out with. It's like I don't even know how to explain it. It's like pink, blue, and white, and it's kind of like it looks like it's all mixed together almost. I thought it was really really cool.
So did you run the silver rims?
On the 125.
Yeah, the old 125. Heck yeah.
For a solid 2 laps.
Kawasaki, it's so funny because Yamaha introduced their bike in old school graphics.
Yeah.
Kawasaki introduced their bike in old school graphics. I'm like, okay, are we all going back to old school? Are we going back to silver rims?
I was really a fan of the way the YZs looked when they did their 50th anniversary.
It looked really good.
It would look really good.
I think the purple rims actually were kind of cool, but I don't think there was a YZ with purple rims on it. I really don't.
No.
I don't remember.
I don't believe so.
No.
Somebody had Axel Hodges
Yeah,
did.
I was just about to bring that up.
Yeah, Axel Hodges did a nice anniversary bike.
For the LA Coliseum.
Yeah, purple wheels. Oh my god,
It looked beautiful.
that bike was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a fan of the stock aluminum look on the wheels,
Yeah.
but he did the purple wheels.
Well, I've gotten used to my blue wheels. I honestly thought I would hate it, and then just the year I got mine, the YZs came blue. But
Mm.
did you see MXGP? They introduced theirs as well. Same old school graphics, the Kawasaki, but they had black rims, and people were like, "Oh, which one's better?" And there was a banter back and forth on. But I was like, dude, back when this bike came out, because they were wearing the old school Fox gear for Pro Circuit, and it was like there weren't black rims back then. You had gold rims for Suzuki and Yamaha and Honda, and you had silver rims for everybody else, and it was like that fits, like retro look
Yeah,
that
yeah.
actually fits. And like you were talking about the purple and blue, you're very fortunate because there is a history that they can pull out that iconic stuff. Like
Yeah.
7 can't pull that out.
No.
They can't do that because they're too new.
Mhm.
Fly is actually somewhat new. They can't do that. FXR can't do that. But like Fox and Thor could pull out some old stuff and be like, hey, guess what? We can do this.
We got
Yeah.
the factory fill jersey that's pink.
Yeah.
you
Oh
know?
yeah.
Yeah,
growing
that's
up, I've always
ancient.
been a fan of Fox gear too, so I'm really fortunate to be able to run Fox gear.
Yeah.
I love their gear. I
Say
always
if
have.
you feel good and you look good, you're gonna
Oh,
ride
yeah.
good too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That,
good,
that
that's
adds
good.
20 horsepower
There
right
you
there.
go.
Well, I have to say this is our truth part. I have to say I'm very happy that you feel that you've gotten that guidance because my world life was coaching, and we were talking about you one day at the races, and I'm watching, and I literally walked over to Derek and said, "I'm not impressed."
that
I'm not. But he wants to meet.
was the Chad Reed day.
Yeah, and he's like,
Yeah.
but he wants to meet with us. He's a nice kid. And I'm like, I'm not impressed. And that's just the world I came from. But the fact that you have figured out what the weakness is, and guess what? This is what I need help with, and you're doing that. Cool. Like, awesome. Like, congratulations. I'm very happy, and I'm happy that getting a contract, working with good people around you, that is going to make a difference. It is.
Like in every race that I do, I try to get some footage of it. I kind of like watching film. Like the boy last weekend, he came out with a drone. And, recorded every single one of my motors with a drone, and that helped me a lot. To, figure out the faster lines or what I had a mistake in, what I could do to just shave off some seconds. And that I really enjoy watching footage back and realizing what I did wrong and capitalizing on that. I feel like that helps me a lot.
There's a guy that lives in Haines City that really enjoys watching footage and breaking things down.
James Stewart himself.
Yeah, James. People don't.
He don't live there anymore.
Well, he still does his podcast.
Yeah.
People don't realize that. Yes, he was talented. But he watched hours of video, watching riders and breaking things down. He knew their tells. Like he knew when I see this, that they're done.
Yeah.
And that's how. And so there is an art and a skill in the fact that you're willing to do that. But guess what? Since you don't get to go out, when you're at home at night, you can pull up those videos and watch them, and you can analyze, and you'll have plenty of that. That'll be your bedtime.
Actually, I do that a lot. Like I'm laying in bed right before I go to sleep. I'll just watch old videos of me riding, and just thinking to myself like what I could do better, and what I can work on, just with the riding aspect to improve.
See, I like that.
That's the right mentality
I like it.
because I would say a couple months ago you weren't at that point.
No.
And then we kind of click this drive into you that this can happen, but this is what you got to do.
And I feel like just this past couple weeks, it's like something's flipped, like a switch is flipped, and I feel better than I ever have on the bike. I feel good right now.
As I think a few weeks ago, that's when this happened. But
it was because that's my thing is I'm not a racer. I understand athletics, and I watch, and you just can see like I don't care if they're the fastest. Do you see the drive? There was a guy at that race. He was taking an alternative line coming up on like right across the start and finish line, that hard pack turn. He had a line, and I was like, I wonder why no one else is taking that. And he was getting so much time because where everybody else was coming in hard, he was coming in slower and accelerate almost straight lining. And it was like, that's just crash. He's seen something that said this might be a better option, and that's where that taking pride in your racecraft versus just I'm a racer. And the fact that you're taking the time and you're doing that, now I'm really proud to say like, hey, I'm glad I got to meet you. I'm glad we got to sit down with you because, and I'm going to be very honest, I was like, man, it's like, it's just another local kid, whatever. There's no heart in there, but the fact that you're willing to accept that shows there is a drive and a heart in there. I'm looking forward to the next couple months. Mini-O's, and that's the thing too is, guess what? It may not be perfect at Mini-O's.
I mean, there's a lot of pressure at Mini-O's too. I mean, that's the same with Loretta's. I see all these memes on like Facebook or social media that are like, Dad dumped his life savings into you getting into Loretta's and you come home with a 10th. Yeah, that's phenomenal.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I don't understand those memes because just to get to Loretta's alone, you're top in the nation, and then to pull a 10th, you're top 10 out of that class in the entire nation. Like, I don't get it. It's mainly just a lot of people, in my opinion, that couldn't get there or,
from the outside in.
Yeah, and jealousy and the whole 9 yards. But just the work involved to qualify for Loretta's alone is
I don't
phenomenal.
Think people realize how much work it takes off the bike, to be successful on the bike.
Oh, you're just riding a motorcycle. It's why it's so hard. It's not that hard.
Yeah, exactly. There's more mentality than there is skill.
There's so much that goes into just being off the bike that will lead to the success on the bike.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my biggest question of the whole night is, since you're with Future and they do some FTR races, are they going to allow you, once Mini-O's is over with, because that's in November, there'll be one or two more FTR races to end this, like the December, January. Are they going to let you bust out on some pre-mod stuff, just at least that for the fun of it?
Oh, I hope so. Actually, my contract with them ends in November, and that's what we're going to renegotiate.
Okay.
Whatever. So,
you got to put that in there.
Yeah, I do enjoy doing those FTR races. Like this weekend, actually RJ Huss he grew up racing FTR races, so I really did enjoy doing those FTR races. And if we do sign again, which would be amazing, I am looking forward to doing some of those FTR races. Like I really want to do Mountain Hill and Id City this year.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Mountain Hill.
Mountain Hill is fun.
That's fun. That's a fun track. You would enjoy that one.
That's what I was told that this weekend. Actually,
you would enjoy Mountain Hill.
Is that the one where they add a little bit of motocross track into it?
Yeah. Like it's like
there's a step up.
See that I would find enjoyable, and there was I said I would love FTR if I could do like a MotoGP type of deal where like Waldo's doing or Spider's doing, where you could mix the motocross in with the woods.
Yeah. So they actually it's like the 4th mile in, I believe last year was. They have like it's like almost a mile of just motocross. Like they have last year at least they had like a ski jump almost downhill. You make a 90, you come back up, and they have like tables and doubles, and they have the infamous step up, as you were saying.
That would be fun.
And they have a grass track section out back.
Yes.
And it's literally probably a mile and a half of grass track. So like you're literally going through the pasture.
Mm-hmm.
And you can cut corners and slide, and depending on if it's wet or not, like what your traction is. But you're fifth gear, and you're on it, and you're like, hey, I wonder how fast I can go. Yeah, and you just have busted out of the sandy wood section, and then all of a sudden it gives you that grass track old school feel. And then there's the motocross, and there is elevations, and there's rocks, and it's a different Florida track than what we're accustomed to.
Yeah, see, that's like enduro to me is the wide variety.
And it was cool, but no, hopefully they're seeing something in you and the growth in you that makes them want to re-sign that. I think that would be cool, just to give you that full shot of, hey, let's we started this. Let's see it through for 1 year.
Like they've always implied, it's all within the budget because it's just RJ Huss and it's Mr. Bryan and all them. Like there's a bunch of people in it, but it's really just what they can afford because they don't have anybody else like a big helping them out. It's really just, it's all out of their pockets.
Yeah.
So they do have the facility coming on right now, and they are putting a lot of money into that, which is phenomenal for them and for us. But really, it's just all in the budget. So if they can afford it, but yeah, like I said, it's been an honor, riding for them, and I would love to continue riding for them. But yeah, like I said, it's all in their budget. What they can afford.
Yeah.
That's cool though. That's and guess what? That's part of the business.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I think Matt told us that same thing sitting here. Like, dude, this is what we can do. Like, and people call and like, I want this, and he's like, man, I'm telling you what I can do.
It's still a business, and somebody still has to pay
and
for
RJ's got to say the same thing. Like, man, I would love to. Derek and I would love to be able to put Ryland's bike on a truck and say, fly yourself there. But guess what? We're gonna be driving there. Like,
Yeah.
So it is what it is. Like, you do what you can, and hopefully they continue to grow and they can offer more.
Yeah.
But they are a local team, so we support those local teams, and I'm excited. I'm excited that we got to sit down with you. I'm glad we got to, when Derek said, "Hey, we can do the podcast Sunday." I'm like, okay, I'll make it work.
Yeah. No, I'm glad that we made it work, and it's going to be fun. What is it? October 28th. We're racing the money race at Dade City.
That's not the same weekend as the pumpkin race?
It is.
Oh, I am so excited for the pumpkin race.
Yeah, there's.
I can
Forget the money race.
I don't care about the
Pumpkin
money
race.
We've been talking about this all weekend. Dade City, I think it's the 28th and the 29th, somewhere in those dates. Whatever. That weekend is a money race at Dade City. We got Triple Crown at Dade City, I4MX Triple Crown Series. We got the pumpkin race. We got the Halloween costume contest.
What are
I'm
we
gonna
doing
kill
this
it
year?
at the Halloween contest. Oh, the costume contest, I'm gonna kill it this year.
No, you're not.
You got to beat Derek.
I stomped that last year.
What were you last year?
We made the space shuttle.
Oh, I think I did show up for the Halloween one because last year it was like when I was only riding, a couple of times every couple months.
I didn't know you at that point, but we built the space shuttle last year.
I think I do remember that.
This year I think you need to do a Chinese dragon.
So I have an idea this year, and it is not going on this because
Yeah, you don't want to share it.
nobody's going to hear about this. But it's not as good as last year, but I think it's still pretty cool. We'll talk about it here later.
So is this Dade City Money Race, is this something that Chisholm's going to come off the couch for, or is he going to be a World Supercross at that point? I don't know that schedule.
I don't know.
'Cause, like, if
Based
there's
off
money-
the schedule.
If there's money, Chisholm's like, hey, I need some more cabinets in this
Yeah.
house we're remodeling. So
But I think, like, I've been talking to our rider Rylan. I think it's going to be a phenomenal weekend anyway. Like, it's going to be fun. That's the one weekend at Dade that is literally a blast.
Yeah.
I mean, we have fun every weekend, but this is that one race where you get to watch guys at our statue that are on bikes holding pumpkins, hauling ass around Dade City motocross track
No,
for
I'm
2 laps.
I'm not doing it with you.
Oh, I'm doing it.
You can find a partner.
I got partners. Don't you worry about that. And we're gonna tear this race up. But as Randy Yoho himself says, these guys are idiots. Like, I don't suggest this. I don't know why we do it, but we do it every year.
Yes, they do.
But that crowd there is awesome. It's gonna be. I can't wait for that weekend.
It should be a good with the fact that there's the Triple Crown too.
Yeah.
I guess that'll also bring in some extra people for that night as well that are going to get to see that weekend, what that weekend means in Florida motocross.
And then the next year it just grows and grows and grows. The Dade City typical race weekends are getting bigger and bigger.
Oh yeah. Just from this year alone, they've been getting
they're-
a lot more riders.
Yeah, it's growing a lot, and Randy's putting the money back into the place, and it's
He just put in all those new lights. I think he said he spent like
$80,000 on lights. Yeah,
lights.
LEDs.
Yeah, it's like daytime.
So is it still just the short track or the night track? Does it has the lights?
For our Saturday night races, yeah.
I didn't know if he would like branch off and do the whole track.
I think because of the time constraint, like, we're already pushing. I think pretty much midnight when we went off to bed last night.
Yeah, I think they don't get done with racing until about 9, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock.
Yeah,
wow.
it was like 11 o'clock last night.
Yeah.
So
So
I
the
mean,
city- the
to race the full track would just be too much.
That's cool. It's awesome. So, like I said, like we said 2 weeks ago, Florida racing it's time. It is this time of year, and for you, you've got to try to balance that. What do I really need to be racing, and what do I need to like? Hey, I'll be a spectator this weekend and watch because, like for you, that pumpkin race is fun and the money race is fun. Less than a month after that is Mini O's, and it's like I've really got to. You're kind of building for so everything you're working towards at this point is just for that week.
Yeah, I definitely need to be picky and choosy on what I need to be racing and what I like you said what I should be sitting out on. Especially focusing towards Mini O's.
Yeah.
Need to be careful.
So is there 3 or 4 rounds left in Gold Cup?
3.
3.
3 rounds. Okay, so 3 rounds left in Gold Cup, and then I guess will you also do Winter Ams?
I believe so. We haven't really talked about it, but I think I'm going to be wanting to do Winter Ams.
I want someone from Florida to go up and do that Ultra. Is it the Ultra Series up in North Carolina where they do the arena cross type stuff?
I don't think I know that one.
There's a series up there in the winter time that it's almost like an arena cross type series. It's not the big one, but it's like in the winter time that they do a series up there. And I want somebody to like bust up and go do that one time, just see what it's like to do these almost barn type arena.
Yeah,
I think that would be really fun though.
I love the arena cross though.
And they pay out. They have pro classes and they have the amateurs and they have so all the tracks are built for the littlest kid can ride on it. So
ride it.
There's nothing that's going to be like daunting. You're not going to hit your head on the roof as you're jumping a triple. But so I have a question, and maybe this is something you can give us an answer to at some point. They're restructuring arena cross this year. There's actually going to be 2 arena crosses in Daytona.
I've seen that, and I am ecstatic about it.
Yeah. So now that there's the futures, is there going to be a route for people just to go do arena cross too? So like, to get some skill in those tight confines, is that something that, as you're working towards it, that would be something you might do?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like I want to try all of them. Future arena cross. Like I want to branch out. Do more indoor racing. Because I've always enjoyed indoor racing.
Yeah.
Same.
Like tighter tracks, technical tracks. I feel like I've done excelled in tight technical.
Because that arena cross series this year is very national. I mean, they're racing.
They're everywhere.
Colorado, Oklahoma, Grand Island, Nebraska, which for those there is a airport in Grand Island, Nebraska, but they're racing there, and then they're doing 2 in Daytona, and it's like, oh man, this is like they're all over the place.
I think the Daytona ones are going to be fun. I'm going to at least be at one of them
They're
for
in Bike
sure.
Week.
I know. We're already going to be there. We're there for Daytona regardless. PAX is holding a huge money race off the books right now.
It's going to be a very busy early part of the year in Florida.
But I think there's a lot more for our sport coming that week, and I think it's going to be huge because as much racing as there is here, there's not as much pro racing. Per se.
Yeah.
At that time of the year. So I think it's going to be really, really good. I'd love to see you at some arena cross races.
I would love to.
We're going to make that happen regardless.
I think it'd just be fun to see what it's like, actually see what it's like. Because I think Rylan, when he told us the first night he rolled in for the night show, and like you're looking up and you're beside somebody, you're like, wait, I watched him on TV. And I'm beside him. The lights are on, and he's like, that feeling, that emotion of, oh, it's not daytime anymore. Like, I'm actually on it.
So actually, I believe back when I was in Super Minis, we did one future round. I think it was in Atlanta.
Okay.
We did one, so I kind of got a little bit of aspect of that, like walking through the tunnel and stuff, like to ride on the big track.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the cut down amateur side of it, but actually, I raced against Jack Chambers in the Super Minis.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir. He whacked my ass. I think it was us, me and him battling like 1 and 2, I believe.
Yeah, I ran into Jack's dad today, literally passing by. He was helping Zach, and I ran into Jack's mom at the start line. She didn't recognize me. She's like, oh, hey, how's it going? Because we grew up playing tennis together. And then Jack gets into motorcycles. By the way, for all of you, Jack's dad, Jason, was a really good dirt bike rider. Jack's mom was a really good dirt bike rider.
Really?
Well, Well, she knocked me on my ass one day in a hair scramble. We were racing, and she was fast, and she passed me, and she got hung up somewhere, and I passed her back, and she came back by me, and literally I did not get out of the way, and she just, boom. And their daughter's pretty quick too. I mean, this is a motorcycling family. But it just cracked me up because like Michelle always makes fun of me. She's like, "You got knocked down by her."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yes, I did." So, but
against it.
I think you've got a good future, whatever that means at the level. Because we've talked to Rylan about it. Of like being successful doesn't necessarily mean being Jet.
Yeah.
Being successful is, however, the best Caleb is. That's what you got to become, and you're on that mission now, and that's the fun part. And it's going to get tough, and guess what? When it gets tough, you call Derek, or you call me, or you reach out to RJ, and you reach out to those people that are there, and they're going to smack you on the hiney and say, "Hey, we're here for you, but deal with it." So I think it's awesome. I think it's a great journey that you're on.
It happens pretty regularly. I mean, to be bluntly honest, it happens pretty regularly. Like, get your head out of your ass because
it does, but I need it.
Yeah.
It helps me. But like you said, I am really excited for the future and like what we can accomplish. And
Awesome.
I'm ready for it. Like, you know, no matter what it takes, the work that needs to be put in, I'm prepared. I'm ready.
And we'll give you a couple weeks off each year to go let your hair down and go party, but not right now.
No, right now it's prime time. So
I'm not interested in partying. I've been there, done that.
finally worked that out. I have been working with this kid for a month straight. I'm like, no drinking. You're done. Finally locked in, and I'll tell you what, this weekend this kid was smooth. Like,
I felt really good.
Smooth riding. He's like, I haven't drank in weeks. I'm like, you can tell.
You can
like,
see things.
Yeah, in all seriousness, it was like smooth riding. It was Moto too. You had a couple small little mistakes, but
Yeah,
like
just a couple
nothing.
little hiccups. And I feel like that was mostly just because of the lap riders.
Yeah, you jumped in a class that you weren't ready for one, and riding with C riders and everything else. That can be a deal on its own. But I've never understood why tracks do that. You throw A and C together.
It was like open A, open B, open C, open beginner, all in the same gauge drop.
Yeah. It's stuff like that is gnarly to me. Like I've actually been in a race where we raced beginners one time.
I
And
was lapping kids the first lap.
my bike got smoked so a beginner come in and he couldn't pull the turn like I did. I was pulling the 90 and he T-boned me. And I got stuck under my bike. He totaled the whole side of my bike. I had exhaust. All my plastic was junk. And I remember this because I went up to that race. That was like 2012-ish. I went up to the owners and I'm like, what are you doing? They're like, well, we've always run these classes together. And I'm like, you can't do that. My bike is destroyed. Now I got to pay for that. You know, my leg was black and blue, hip down. But I will never understand or be able to wrap my head around that. It worked out well for some reason.
Yeah.
But that one incident where a kid gets landed on or something of that nature, and it's going to become a problem.
I kind of feel like, you know, from their angle, I feel like they're thinking if you're an A rider or whatever, you need to be able to move around.
You can get around them.
But still, like, there's always that kind of aspect.
They can't hold a line though either.
Yeah,
you know, they're very unpredictable.
Sometimes the closing rates are a little quick.
Yeah.
A little quick. And I know that as the guy that gets passed. Like, well, I'll hear a guy, and it's like all of a sudden, oh, okay. Like, there he goes.
That's what I was telling him, because when I raced Dade City round 1, I jumped in a C class, and I had a guy that over doubled who did not hold a line, and he crossed as I was landing, and we broke all my ribs. It was a mess. It's my own stupidity for jumping into that class, but I thought just 10 years off, I might as well jump into something I should feel pretty comfortable in. But no.
That actually happened to me this weekend last weekend at the Gold Cup. There was this boy. They only put open A and open B together, but I don't really think he should have been riding open B to begin with, because we all lapped him within the first or second lap. But I was lapping him, and there's a triple, and he ended up. I went way outside, like I was gonna go way outside around him, and he ended up cross jumping him and pushed me off the track, just so I didn't land on him.
Yeah.
There's always that instance of where that dangerous factor where these. Yeah.
Your heart gets up here a little bit. It's okay. It happens.
Yeah, and you get the unfortunate, like, that's exactly what I tried to do. I landed on that double and I shot right. But he literally pulled the entire outside of the track, and there wasn't enough room for me to go out around, and I just smoked him.
Well, is there any other motocross stuff we need to talk about? We have MXD in next week. We have another Gold Cup. I guess Dade City is off next week, so it's Gold Cup. And I guess
Okay.
another triple. I'm sure there's another Triple Crown.
I don't even know where it is, but there is.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Triple Crown, they don't do it like Gold Cup. It's not week after week. There's a couple breaks in between a few of them, and stuff like that. But yeah, Gator back next weekend, Gold Cup.
I'm excited for next
Like I
week.
said, we expect a pretty good turnout. Caleb's going to be pitting with us. We should have lots to report on next week. And
Sweet. And we'll make sure we have the results for MXD in, because I'm guessing there's going to be some pretty cool results off that.
Yep.
Who's going to win? What team?
Ooh, I'm not sure. Team USA, they got a good team this year with Sexton and
Not Sexton.
not Sexton, Plessinger,
Yeah.
Plessinger, RJ, and
Christian, I'm
Craig.
excited to see how
Yeah.
Craig does
Yeah.
because he's just coming back.
It's a hard packed track, so I feel like he's going to be okay on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I feel like he also in his mindset has expectations to fill.
Yeah.
So I think he's gonna go out there and perform.
I'm excited to see how Plessinger does.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
this
think-
is his riding.
I'm a huge Plessinger fan. So.
Yep. So
I'm a little nervous for him because it's a little bit more hard packed track, but the crowd's going to love him.
oh yeah,
Between him, the Lawrences, and I don't know if Hunter's going to run or not. I don't know if his back is going to be
I
better.
haven't heard the word on
But-
that yet.
Oh, yeah.
Australia's got a good team. France has a good team. The Netherlands always have a good team. But there's quite a few teams this year. I feel like if USA can get a podium, awesome.
Doing good.
Yeah.
We did good because there really are quite a few good teams right now.
Yeah.
And obviously we have Puerto Rico, so for the life of me, I cannot remember the other two riders for Puerto Rico, but I'm just so excited that we have literally a kid from Polk County
Yeah.
is going to be riding in Motocross Nations this year.
40 minutes from us. I mean,
awesome.
That's
Like-
really cool to
Like
see.
he lives in Auburndale, and a lot of the pros train at his facility. Even when he's been gone, they've been training at his facility. So,
Yep.
So nothing else on your end?
no.
You want to give us some sponsors and you want to thank anybody? And
Obviously Derek for helping me out every weekend. Obviously Future MX, Fox, Oakley, Step Up MX. My parents for one, coming out of retirement, to come watch me. Coming out of retirement of the old motocross scene, come watch me and make it to some of these races. Heath Thor, especially for wrenching on my bike a lot and making it to most of these races as he can. He's helped me out tremendously. Danny for 53 Graphics, he's helped me out since the beginning of even before Future MX, when I just bought that 2-stroke and was going out there and
Yep.
just having fun. He helped me out since then. Really just everybody that's helped me get to the point to where I am. I cannot say thank you enough. I am super appreciative of all of you guys.
awesome. Well, very good. Well, Derek, if you don't have anything else, I'm going to wrap us out.
Yeah, no, it's been fun.
That is Derek. He is with DBS Custom Fabrication and Handyman Services. I am Trey with Michelle and Trey Real Estate. We are Beyond the Curve, the MX podcast. This was episode 30. By the way, how many other startups have gone 30 straight weeks without missing a week? Congratulations, man.
That's been fun. It's
30,
been fun.
30 in a row, and we will probably have 31 in a row before we take any breaks.
Thank you guys again.
At least.
for having
We're
me
going to
on.
go eat some
It's
ribs.
a pleasure. Yeah, get some ribs, some
We're gonna eat
steaks.
some
We're gonna
ribs.
tear it up and
It has been smelling good here for I don't know how long we've been here, but boy, it smells good. We're going to eat. Let's eat.
Let's see.
let's do it.
Y'all take care.
See ya.